At Panasonic, we build technologies that turn complex data into smarter decisions, helping you prepare for what's next. We're building the future so you can lead it. Panasonic. Create today, enrich tomorrow.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, so brand new. Show me all the things PDFs can do. Do your work with ease and speed. PDF Spaces is all you need. Do hours of research in an instant with key insights from an AI assistant. Pick a template with a click. Now your prezzo looks super slick. Close that deal? Yeah, you won. Do that, doing that, did that, done. Now you can do that with Acrobat. Now you can do that with the all-new Acrobat. It's time to do your best work with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yep, that's me. 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Wednesday, September 10th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Showers this morning, clouds this afternoon, high 69. Tonight and overnight, those clouds hang around, low 60. And then Thursday, the sun reappears, high 79. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 63 and cloudy in Valley Stream out on Long Island, 61 and cloudy in Dumont over in New Jersey, and it's 62 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
The NYPD has a terror threat they want you to know about. There are big-time water woes in Hoboken again. The men who want to be mayor react to a new poll. Imagine using a flare gun to settle a dispute with a neighbor. And a local synagogue says a Westchester town isn't playing fair. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. NYPD, FBI warning about increased threats against critical infrastructure in the city. In a post on X yesterday, the mayor says, as we do every year around this time, we're closely monitoring for any potential threats to New York City infrastructure. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch holding a press conference says threats are typical this time of year around the United Nations General Assembly. It's the Jewish high holidays and, of course, the commemoration of the 9/11 attacks.
We take all threats seriously, and we are working with our federal partners through our Joint Terrorism Task Force as we investigate. Out of an abundance of caution, we are surging resources, and you can expect to see an increased police presence at critical infrastructure locations.
Tisch says those locations include bridges and tunnels connecting Queens and Manhattan. Police sources saying those threats have nothing to do, or they saying they're not related to the Israeli attack in Qatar yesterday. The NYPD releasing the identity of a man wanted in the murder of an elderly Queens couple. We told you about this story yesterday where someone got into this Queens couple's home. We now know more about him. His name is Jamal Griff. He's a 42-year-old career criminal, and apparently he was going door to door in Belrose, in that community in Queens, on Monday, knocking on doors, asking people if he could charge their cell phone. Well, the thought is he was turned away from a lot of homes, but unfortunately, this one elderly couple let him in. And he then either murdered them, set the house on fire. All the details are slowly coming in, but they haven't been able to find this guy who was out on parole.
McGriff has a lengthy, violent criminal history stretching back 30 years, including multiple robberies.
That's Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, who says that he got into Frank and Maureen Olton's Belrose home Monday by knocking on the door, asking for help, claiming his cell phone had died. Once inside, allegedly stabbed the couple to death, stole various items, then set the house on fire. Tisch says McGriff's MO is to go door to door seeking assistance. So she's warning people that this guy's still out there. He's armed and dangerous, and don't let strangers into your house if they knock on your door.
The suspect's MO is to go door to door, asking for some kind of assistance until he can gain entry. So do not allow anyone you don't know or who you are not expecting into your home.
And as of 5:03 this morning, he's from the Bronx, by the way, McGriff. They have been unable to find him. 5:03 out to Hoboken, New Jersey. Crews working to repair two separate water main breaks there, which have affected some residents' water pressure. Now, it's just a square mile town, so anytime you have a water break in a square mile town, it kind of affects everybody. So boil water advisory in effect. This first came after a 100-year-old 12-inch pipe broke. This was about 11 a.m. yesterday between Newark and Garden Streets. The initial damage went from buckling asphalt to this massive gaping hole and water going everywhere.
Trash cans were floating down by, and we basically had lakefront property.
I walked outside to chaos.
First thought the break was downtown and not here as well.
Okay, so about an hour after that water main broke open, they had isolated it. They were able to stop it. Crews responded then to a second water main break, again, just a square mile city, about 10 blocks away on 9th between Garden and Bloomfield. Now, you talk to people in Hoboken, they say this stuff happens all the time, and they're a little sick of it.
Obviously, it's frustrating, but, it's Hoboken.
It's Hoboken.
We're stuck in our apartment with the dog and can't do dishes, can't take a shower, can't use the restroom.
Now, we're waiting for an overnight update, which we did not get about whether these are all been capped, but we've been told the boil water advisory is still in effect and that the city of Hoboken, starting at 7 a.m. this morning, will be handing out cases or at least bottles of water to people in Hoboken who, again, frustrated. They say this happens like once a month.
It's a pain. I feel like we're dealing with this almost every single month, and water runs out pretty quickly at CVS, and working in the city trying to get back here to get water is just not really practical.
Pay enough in taxes where I think they should be focusing their money on infrastructure. It just kind of is what it is.
The city of Hoboken admits that there have been sort of years of underinvestment in the water system, and they committed to fix it a couple of years ago, but they say it'll take them till 2030 to get to all those pipes across the city. So I guess those neighbors can expect more water main breaks. 506. A 58-year-old construction worker killed yesterday afternoon when a building column collapsed on him at a garage in Cypress Hills, Brooklyn. The Department of Buildings, first the EMTs rushed there to get to this individual. Unfortunately, he died at the hospital. This taking place on Sunnyside Avenue, and the workers, unfortunately, who were at the scene witnessed this whole thing, and as you might guess, completely shaken by it.
They were working, and there was a column right there. He was working to the left of the column. The column fell on top of it, like his back, and he just got pinned under it. Like, out of nowhere, it's really crazy what happened.
Yeah, we have not been given his name, but this happened at 113 Sunnyside Avenue. So now the DOB is in there, the Department of Buildings, vacate order. They got to check out what's going on, again, as these workers mourn the loss of a fellow worker.
There's nothing to explain, no words. Nothing can explain at all.
Yeah, neighbors describing it just as a freak accident. WABC News Time 508. Some highly debated proposals on housing are now going to appear on city ballots this fall.
The measures, which came from Mayor Adams' Charter Revision Commission, could speed housing projects by stripping some power that the city council can use to block projects. The council, unsurprisingly, opposed putting the measures on the ballot, and reportedly so did a few members of the Board of Elections. Reports say staffers to Governor Kathy Hochul, who has the power to remove BOE members, pushed them to approve, and they did on Tuesday. Voters will now have the final say on the proposals. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
Well, this is just a little distressing. Reading and math scores among high school students are dropping to their lowest levels in decades.
Data from the National Assessment of Education Progress found that 12th grade reading scores dropped to the lowest in the history of the exam, which started in 1992, while math scores for the same age group declined to the lowest rating since 2005. The results of the assessment, which is commonly known as the nation's report card, are the first for these groups since before the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
5:10, let's go down to Washington, D.C. The President Trump, touting the safety of D.C. And in a surprise moment, he hit the streets of Washington last night, took some members of his cabinet out for dinner at a local restaurant.
We all work together, and the outcome is really spectacular. We have a capital that's very, very safe right now.
The president says it's a safe city. He thanked National Guard for helping police fight crime there. His restaurant trip comes as the president considers deploying the National Guard to other cities to address crime.
The restaurants now are booming. People are going out to dinner where they didn't go out for years.
And while he was out in D.C. last night, the president again distancing himself from Jeffrey Epstein. He was asked about this birthday letter that Democrats on the House Oversight Committee claim was sent by Trump to the late sex offender.
It's not my signature, and it's not the way I speak. And anybody that's covered me for a long time know that's not my language. It's nonsense.
Came on the same day that White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked about this same photo of Epstein holding an oversized novelty check for $22,000 signed by the president. Well, he wasn't president at the time.
Did you see the signature on that check? It is not Donald Trump's signature. It is absolutely not. The president did not sign that check.
And the photo shared by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee investigating the late sex offender. And speaking of the president, did you hear his interview with Sid Rosenberg on Sid and Friends in the morning yesterday morning? If you haven't, you should definitely go take a listen. It's at WABCRadio.com, the entire interview. He was talking about a lot of things, but one of the things that caught a lot of people's attention is that he's been trying to weigh in on the race for mayor in the city. You'll remember a few days back, he asked both Curtis Sliwa and Mayor Adams to drop out of the race, hoping that the support from the two of them will go to Andrew Cuomo and that he'd be able to beat Zohran Mamdani. The polls show Andrew Cuomo running a distant second to Mamdani. When Sid asked him about the race for mayor yesterday, he asked about Curtis Sliwa, and he said, "What do you think about your fellow Republican?" Here's what the president had to say.
So, I don't know him. I really don't know him. Surprisingly, I can't say. I just can't say. I mean, he's a Republican, I guess, but never had much good to say about me, as I understand it. But I don't know Curtis. I'm sure he'd like me if he got to know me. Ideologically, I mean, one thing we have, I think, in common is that I don't like crime.
All right, so Zohran Mamdani has this commanding lead in the race for mayor in the new Siena College poll that came out yesterday. It finds that 46% of likely voters plan to choose Mamdani. Andrew Cuomo, second place at 24%. Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, third at 15%. Mayor Adams in fourth at 9%. The president, he sounded, at least to me anyway, resigned to the fact that it may be too late for anybody to stop Zohran Mamdani to becoming mayor in November.
Now, if you had two people drop out, could somebody win? The answer is maybe, but even that's going to be a little bit of a long shot, I guess, based on the polls. If you believe polls. I don't necessarily believe polls.
Well,
because if I believe polls, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, okay. You can hear that entire interview by heading on over to WABCRadio.com. And coming up at 5:30, you'll hear from all the candidates themselves as they react to that Siena College poll. 5:13. Supreme Court will hear arguments on whether tariffs implemented by President Trump are legal.
The focus will be on Trump using a law meant for times of emergency to impose the duties without the help of Congress. The High Court agreed to take two different cases that cover most of the tariffs, including one filed by the Trump administration in response to an appeals court ruling late last month that said he had went above his authority. The tariffs will stay in place until the court makes a decision. I'm Brian Shook.
5:14, the man accused of murdering a Ukrainian refugee on a light rail train in Charlotte, North Carolina last month. Federal charge now. U.S. Attorney from the District of North Carolina, Russ Ferguson, confirms that DeCarlos Brown Jr. charged now with committing an act causing death on mass transportation system.
It is a law that is there because acts like this affect the American way. It affects our daily life.
34-year-old already faces a first-degree murder charge in North Carolina State Court for allegedly stabbing 23-year-old Irina Zarutska on August 22nd. Ferguson says the maximum penalty for the federal crime is life in prison or even the death penalty.
The maximum penalty for this federal crime is life in prison without parole or the death penalty. But I'm here today to announce that we're going to supplement those state charges with federal charges.
Meanwhile, President Trump says Democrats continue to be an obstacle to crime enforcement in big cities and places across the country.
For far too long, Americans have been forced to put up with Democrat-run cities that set loose savage, bloodthirsty criminals to prey on innocent people.
And the president highlighting the murder of that Ukrainian refugee on that light rail train in Charlotte last month.
In every place, they control radical left judges, politicians, and activists, and they've adopted a policy of catch and release for thugs and killers. She was slaughtered by a deranged monster who was roaming free after 14 prior arrests.
And now her alleged murder federally charged. In a moment, we haven't heard the name Oliver North in a long time. He's making news. We'll tell you why. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Good morning to you, Noah Maladen. We'll start here out in Philadelphia on the diamond. The Mets fell once again to the Phillies, this time in much more convincing fashion. The final scored 9-3. Phillies have won the first two games of the four-game series and lead the NL East by 9 games over the Mets. New York dropped its fourth straight and holds a 2-game advantage now over San Francisco for the final National League wild card. Mark Vientos homered for New York, and Juan Soto got his 30th stolen base for the first 30-30 season of his career. Phillies DH Kyle Schwarber hit his 50th home run of the season, making him the first National League player to reach the 50-homer mark this year. He is 3 behind the Major League lead in Cal Raleigh's 53 home runs out in Seattle. Up next for the Mets, Clay Holmes will get the start in tonight's Game 3 of 4 at Philly. First pitch there is scheduled for 6:45. As for the Yankees in the Bronx, they lost handedly as well, 12-2 in the opener of a 3-game series against the AL Central leading Detroit Tigers. Combination of Fernando Cruz and Mark Leiter Jr. blew up for New York out of the bullpen, yielding a 9-run seventh, and together allowed 4 walks, 4 hits, and a hit batsman. Aaron Judge hit his 359th career homer in the first, passing Yogi Berra for 5th place in Yankees history. Cody Bellinger also went deep, but New York lost for the 4th time in 15 games. Starter Will Warren permitted 2 runs and 2 hits in 6 innings of work before his relievers imploded. The Yankees allowed double-digit runs for the 12th time this season. Up next for the Yanks, now 3 games back of Toronto for first place in the division and tied with Boston atop the AL wildcard race. Carlos Rodon will get the start in tonight's middle game of this 3-game series against visiting Detroit. First pitch from Yankee Stadium is scheduled for 7:05. That is your sports. Noah Maladen, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:18. Oliver North has now married his former secretary, Fawn Hall.
Both were key figures in the Iran-Contra scandal of the 1980s. According to a marriage certificate, the 81-year-old North married the 65-year-old Hall on August 27th in Virginia. North is a retired Marine Corps lieutenant colonel and was a National Security Council staffer at the time of the scandal. The couple kept their relationship largely private until now. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Apple announcing new iPhones, Apple Watches, AirPods. People don't feel the desperate need to switch up their phones like they used to, right? Because there's so much your phone can do. But they're promising that this new phone has a lot of new features you might want.
Apple introduced 4 new iPhone models, including the newest version called the iPhone 17 Air, and prices for the entry-level phone start at $799. As for the new AirPods Pro 3, the product comes with improved audio quality and noise cancellation, while the 3 new Apple Watch models, called Series 11, include updated low-end SE and high-end Ultra models. Apple's iOS 26 will be available as a free software update as early as next Monday, and the latest product releases are set to hit store shelves on September 19th. I'm Chris Coraggio.
Crazy scene in the port of Long Beach in California yesterday. Some great video. I mean, not great if you own the equipment inside. A massive cleanup underway after dozens of shipping containers fell off a cargo ship in the port of Long Beach yesterday.
Oh, what's going on the stacks?
All right, so the good news is nobody was hurt. This was about 9 o'clock yesterday morning. Unclear what caused the containers to fall off the ship into the harbor. A spokesperson says operations were suspended at the terminal as responders worked to secure these containers. And you sort of wonder what was in there. It's probably all your Amazon packages.
All of a sudden, I hear a rumble. Like, I thought it was my coworker with the trash can bringing it up to the dock. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't him. It didn't stop. It kept on rumbling and rumbling. And I came outside and I was like, oh man, like it was shocking.
Now, I didn't get if they got all those containers back. Do those containers float? I'm asking a question I can't even answer. Cracker Barrel can't seem to get out of its own way, right? Suspending now all the remodels of its restaurants.
The decision follows the popular restaurant chain's failed rebrand that sought to revert to its original logo after receiving massive negative feedback. Cracker Barrel said it's continuing to listen to its customers. The company told customers that if their favorite location hasn't been remodeled yet, then they don't need to worry because it won't be. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
521, former President Biden being criticized by the White House following a revised jobs report. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the Biden administration overreported the addition of 2 million jobs during the former president's tenure.
And the benchmark year, March 2024 to 2025, shows that the job growth was vastly weaker during the Biden administration than ever previously reported.
You'll remember President Trump booted the Labor Department's stats chief, a Biden appointee, on August 1st, claiming she manipulated data on a poor jobs report during the president's first months back in office. Leavitt says the revised report shows President Trump inherited a much worse economy from Biden than they initially thought.
This makes it very clear that President Trump inherited a much worse economy by the Biden administration than ever reported.
And now the White House calling on the Fed, the Federal Reserve, to take action on interest rates to help the economy.
It also proves that the Federal Reserve is holding our monetary policy far too restrictive. Interest rates are too high. The Fed needs to cut the rates because of the mess that we inherited from the Biden administration.
522, while we're down at the White House, they say the U.S. was notified about Israel's attack yesterday on Hamas leaders who had gathered in Qatar for some sort of ceasefire talks. Here's more from Caroline Leavitt.
However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal.
She went on to say conducting strikes in Qatar does not help the goal of reaching a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Israel conducted the strikes yesterday morning, say they were targeting these Hamas leaders who had a direct role in the October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel that started this entire war.
This morning, the Trump administration was notified by the United States military that as Israel was attacking Hamas, which very unfortunately was located in a section of Doha, the capital of Qatar.
And Leavitt says the White House, the President Trump, they want peace in the Middle East.
President Trump wants all of the hostages in Gaza and the bodies of the dead released, and this war to end now.
Yeah, the war only amping up, though, as Israel takes over more sections of Gaza as it tries to eliminate Hamas terrorists. 524, President Trump going after prescription drug advertising now. He signed a memorandum that closes a loophole allowing companies to point consumers to another source like their website for all of the information about the product's side effects or risks.
CDC is a broken agency. It's presided over the biggest decline in health of any country in the world. And we're going to change that. We have to make change there.
Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. there says changes need to be made. And this step, he says, it'll make it a lot harder for companies because it takes pages to list all of the side effects.
And what we need is a CDC director who's going to follow the science. And that's what we're going to do. We're getting rid of all the conflicts and the committees that advise on vaccines.
White House sending out about 100 letters warning companies about the change. And while we're talking health news, uncertainty about COVID booster shots, some doctors say is leading to more hospital visits across the countries. Here's one infectious disease specialist, Dr. Peter Chin Hong, says he's concerned the rhetoric surrounding the vaccine is keeping eligible people from trying to get it.
For example, if someone is worried that their insurance won't cover it, they may not even go even though they should cover it.
Yeah, there is confusion about whether you need a doctor's prescription to get the shot this year, or if you can just go roll into your local pharmacy and get one. So New Jersey's health department making sure anyone in the Garden State who wants a COVID vaccine this season can get one without a prescription.
The State Department of Health Tuesday issued an executive directive and a standing order to make everyone eligible and authorizing pharmacies to give the jabs without a prescription. The move comes as COVID cases tick up in the West and South and after the Trump administration moved to limit access. The department says its moves are based on, quote, clear scientific and evidence-based recommendations, in contrast to the changes made by Washington. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New Jersey.
526 concerns rising over children using AI chatbots after reports of questionable, even dangerous interactions, particularly, though, through Meta's platform. Robert Tomey with the group Common Sense Media, which advocates for young people, says Meta's AI safety systems are inherently broken.
We did testing of core safety functionality that should have been there. And when we simulated users in crisis, the system regularly failed to help.
Yeah, and Congress investigating charges that Meta buried research about how virtual reality devices and apps harm kids. The Senate Judiciary Committee hearing from Meta whistleblowers claiming the tech giant suppressed studies about VR and children.
Every minor, every child will be exposed to sexually explicit content of some sort, is what you're saying.
I see it every time I use the headset.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, that's Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley yesterday questioning former Meta researcher Casey Savage over the use of VR.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Wednesday, September 10th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Showers this morning, then some clouds this afternoon. The high just 69. Tonight and overnight, those clouds, they hang around low 60, and then the sun reappears on Thursday. Sunshine, high 79. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 63 cloudy in Valley Stream out on Long Island, 61 and cloudy in Dumont over in New Jersey, and it's 62 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studio. Hey, Joe, have you ever been at a radio station where they have coffee, but they don't have cups?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I always brought my own in. I always have my own.
Smart move, because I
always put a mug.
You always got to, right. You got to have a mug, and now I'm learning that. I actually thought, because we have one of those great little coffee makers, you put the pod in and, brews you the coffee. Because I need the caffeine in my system. I thought if I just put my head under that spigot where the cough comes out.
Sure. Good idea. Smart.
It wasn't. It's really burning hot when it comes out. So I don't suggest doing that as much as I needed the caffeine.
Don't
that was
try
not
this at
smart.
home.
Yeah, no. I might have to go visit the doctor after the show.
Well, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's true. It'll peel on its own, I'm
You're
sure.
fine. A week or so, it'll be better.
All right, 5:39. This was just a horrendous story we told you about in Queens yesterday. So this elderly couple found dead in their home in Belrose section of Queens. A 76-year-old man and his 77-year-old wife right on 254th Street. And right away, when firefighters showed up at this house on Monday to put out the flames, they realized that the house had been purposely set on fire. And now they know who's behind it. They're looking for 42-year-old Jamel Griff in connection to this crime. So what they say is Jamel was walking around this neighborhood. And by the way, he's got a laundry list of previous crimes, which won't shock you. He was walking around this neighborhood because his phone was dead and knocking on doors, asking people if he could charge his phone in their house. And I'm guessing this elderly couple, Frank and Maureen Olton, made the mistake of letting him in. It was Monday afternoon about 3:30. Well, he then, this is what cops are saying, stabbed this couple to death and then set the house on fire using some sort of accelerant. Neighbors in the neighborhood were shocked by this crime, especially because this couple was sort of beloved. They had lived in this neighborhood for 40 years.
Mr. Olton was found in the basement.
And I should point out, this is the police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, talking about this crime yesterday.
Mr. Olton was found in the basement, tied to a pole with multiple stab wounds. Mrs. Olton was found on the first floor, severely burned. At this time, there is no known connection between Mr. McGriff, our suspect, and our victims beyond this chance encounter.
Yeah, so the man was found in the basement where he was tied with bungee cords to a column that was supporting the house. He was also set on fire. Video of the wanted man, McGriff, was recovered from a neighbor's security camera.
Mr. Olton was found in the basement, tied to a pole with multiple stab wounds. Mrs. Olton was found on the first floor, severely burned. At this time, there is no known connection between Mr. McGriff, our suspect, and our victims beyond this chance encounter.
Now, if you're going to rob him, just rob him. I just don't get this whole thing of, I know I'm asking and saying the obvious, but McGriff has an extensive criminal record that stretched 30 years. He was released from prison on parole in 2023. He had been serving 16 years for robbery. He also had violated parole by failing to register as a level 3 sex offender. I should point out that's the highest risk repeat offender. This guy's still out on the streets. He was seen leaving this couple's home with 2 bags. He lives on the Bronx. So far, they've been unable to find him, and neighbors worried that this guy could come back.
Did not deserve this at all. Nice people didn't deserve that at all. And now scary, thinking that that could happen to them. It could happen to any one of us. It can happen anywhere, and it happened literally on our front lawn. We ordered more surveillance cameras for our house. It's, we shouldn't have to live in fear, but got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Meanwhile, they have not so far been able to find McGriff, but just a matter of time. 542 out to the campaign for mayor. Zohran Mamdani nearly doubles Andrew Cuomo's lead in this new Siena College New York Times poll that came out yesterday. Mamdani holds a 22-point advantage over Cuomo, 46 to 24%. And Cuomo's in second place. In third place is our good friend Republican independent candidate Curtis Sliwa, who polls at 15%. Mayor Adams in fourth and last place at 9% among these voters who were polled. So everybody's weighing in on that. You have Andrew Cuomo, who had been saying that he wants everybody to drop out of the race, or mainly Mayor Adams and Curtis Sliwa, hoping that support would go to him. That'd be enough to beat Zohran Mamdani. But now he says he thinks he can win the race if nobody drops out.
Yes, I believe you will see people just naturally gravitate to the viable choices.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Meanwhile, some of the city's richest landlords gathering for a closed door, what they call it, emergency meeting yesterday with Cuomo to strategize to get more support for the former governor.
Eric Adams has got to leave the race. Right? Once that happens, however that happens, I think there's going to be a torrent of support for Andrew.
Yeah, so they're trying to get these guys out of the race. It's not going to happen. Here's Curtis Sliwa yesterday said, "Why should I go anywhere? I'm the Republican nominee, and my numbers continue to rise."
Remember when they were 2 months out of a Democratic primary, Andy Cuomo was 40 points ahead. They were telling me, why are you even bothering running? He's going to have a coronation. Well, he got killed in the Democratic primary. So I don't trust any of these polls.
Yeah, and then you had Mayor Adams, who said the same thing yesterday. A poll's a poll, doesn't mean a whole lot.
You have to really energize the voters. And so it doesn't surprise me that after spending $35 million, he's where he is. Now it's my opportunity to spend my money and get my message out.
President Trump, who was on with Sid and Friends in the morning yesterday, was urging the challengers to unite to defeat Mamdani, but he doesn't have much hope that's going to happen.
I would say this: anybody is better than what you have. We're going to have a communist mayor in New York. How about that one? We're going to end up with a communist mayor.
Meanwhile, the mayor who was here, you remember he spoke with Sid and Friends in the morning, and he said the real race for the election doesn't start until after September. But now he's saying that this doesn't mean a whole lot.
7 weeks out from the primary, the Polymarkets had Cuomo 87% to win. 87%, 7 weeks out.
Now, he says also he's just throwing cold water on the notion that Cuomo can beat Mamdani one-on-one because he didn't do so in the primary.
There was a one-on-one race, primary. He beat him by 12%. So are we going to do this all over again?
Yeah, all right. Of course, keep it here, 77 WABC, for everything you need to know about the race for mayor. 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Ellick.
Thank you, Noah Maladen. We'll start here on the diamond in Philadelphia. The Mets fell once again to the Phillies, this time in much more convincing fashion. The final score 9-3. Phils have won the first 2 games of the 4-game series and lead the NL East by 9 games now over the Mets. New York dropped its 4th straight and holds a 2-game advantage over San Francisco now for the final NL Wild wild card. Mark Vientos homered for New York, and Juan Soto got his 30th stolen base for the first 30-30 season of his career. Phillies DH Kyle Schwarber hit his 50th home run of the season, making him the first NL player to reach the 50-homer mark this year. He is 3 behind the Major League lead in Cal Raleighy's 53 home runs out in Seattle. Up next for the Mets, Clay Holmes will get to start in tonight's Game 3 of 4 at Philadelphia. First pitch there is scheduled for 6:45. As for the Yankees in the Bronx, they lost handily as well, 12-2 in the opener of a 3-game series against the AL Central leading Detroit Tigers. The combination of Fernando Cruz and Mark Leiter Jr. blew up for New York out of the bullpen, yielding a 9-run seventh, and together allowed 4 walks, 4 hits, and a hit. Batsman Aaron Judge hit his 359th career homer in the first, passing Yogi Berra for 5th place in Yankees history. Cody Bellinger also went deep, but New York lost for the 4th time in 15 games. Starter Will Warren permitted 2 runs and 2 hits in 6 innings of work before his relievers imploded. Yanks allowed double-digit runs for the 12th time this season. Up next for the Yankees, now 3 games back at Toronto for first place in the division and tied with Boston atop the AL wildcard race. Carlos Rodon will get the start in tonight's middle game of this 3-game series against visiting Detroit. First pitch from Yankee Stadium is scheduled for 7:05. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49. The September 11th terror attack on the World Trade Center still killing New York City firefighters 24 years later. Just heartbreaking. Yesterday, the FDNY remembered 39 members who've died in the past year of illnesses related to their work during the rescue and recovery efforts at what was known then as the Pile. Their names added to the FDNY World Trade Center Memorial Wall in an afternoon ceremony at the department's Brooklyn headquarters yesterday. Just heartbreaking to watch this. So the fire department has now lost more than 400 members to the World Trade Center illnesses. That surpasses the 343 firefighters that were killed on September 11th itself. And that number, unfortunately, will go higher as more firefighters are battling all different kinds of cancers. 5:50. More hearings taking place this week for casino proposals here in the city. There were about 129 people who spoke in favor of putting a casino in Midtown Manhattan during a hearing. Several locals say a casino in Hudson Yards or Times Square is just a bad idea, but there was more people saying they thought it was a good idea.
I haven't heard anybody in favor of it. Certainly not my doorman. They don't want it because it's like, more chaos for them to control.
I think it'll bring more crime, more drugs, more poverty. I haven't met a neighbor yet that wants it.
There are just 2 of 8 proposals still under consideration by the state. Bronx residents were also able to weigh in on a casino at Bally's, while community members in Queens will be able to give feedback about a proposal at Citi Field. Now, I don't know anything, but my guess is that's where it's going to end up going.
It's not the place for it. There's plenty of casinos everywhere else.
Now, this is people talking about putting a casino in Times Square.
The theater, Madison Square Garden. This ain't casino. Atlantic City, I think it shows you that.
I know they're going to say it's going to bring revenue to the city, but if you look at Atlantic City, it did nothing for the city.
No, oh my God, it really did nothing for Atlantic City.
You know what we could use is like some basic normal stores and restaurants, like that would be great, that aren't 100% tourism.
It does seem like Times Square is busy enough with what's going on there already. 5:51. This is just one of those nutty neighbor stories. Don't you like a good feud between neighbors? Well, this is crazy. 67-year-old Richard Cantroni has 6 stitches in his face. He says he's still in pain this morning, but thankfully he was not more seriously hurt. When a neighbor in his senior community in West Babylon, Long Island, fired a flare gun at him because she was upset about some interactions his dog was having with her cat. Now, this woman, 76-year-old Kathleen Schumann, she was in court. She's facing a bunch of charges, and there's video, doorbell camera, of her so upset about the interactions between her cat and Richard's dog that you see her firing the flare at Richard. It hits Richard in the face, bounces off him, and then hits the parking lot behind him. I mean, it is so intense. Again, thankfully, Richard is fine, but you can imagine he thought, I'm moving to a senior community. This will be a peaceful place. It has not been that for Richard.
Kathleen showed no emotion.
She claimed I was the devil. She claimed I tried to murder her. And she said, I'm sorry I missed.
Kathleen Schumann has been charged with assault. Now, neighbors, because everybody's watching everybody in a senior community, say this has been a long-standing feud that stems from their pets. People know about it.
And then they start harassing her because he said her cat was always upsetting his dog, and she would sit outside with it.
I just asked her, can you keep the cat inside? And that started the situation.
Yeah, so that's Richard talking to News 12. A spokesperson for Belmont Villas, which is the community they reside in, says this is an isolated incident between individuals unrelated to the community itself. And Richard says, I've lived in a lot of places, and I thought moving to the senior community would be just a nice, quiet, peaceful place to, live.
I've lived in San Francisco. Yeah. I've lived in Boston. And nothing ever happens here. I moved to Suffolk County in a senior community, and my neighbor shoots me in the face with a flare.
I mean, I shouldn't laugh. It's a terrible story. I mean, you shouldn't shoot somebody with a flare. I mean, but people get angry. The neighbors get angry at each other. While we're out on Long Island, parents in Riverhead reacting to a fundraiser for the girls' Riverhead School volleyball team. They're questioning this raffle about what's being given away. A local gun shop owner, his name is Joseph Oliver, is raffling off a semi-automatic weapon to raise money for his daughter's varsity high school volleyball team. And he says, look, why not?
I'm really, really excited. I cannot wait to give the money to them. I decided on the PC carbine. It's a New York compliant rifle. It's not going to some random person off the streets. They have to have a permit. They have to have a pistol permit at that. So, they have to be over 21. If somebody doesn't have those permits, then they'll get a gift card.
Now, under no circumstances will the school district says they will not take the money from raising money for that gun, or I should say the raffle for this gun. So the school district says, okay, you can have this raffle for this firearm, but the school volleyball team won't take the money.
It's a little weird. Guns are not really our thing. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Now, Oliver, who owns the gun store, says, he doesn't see there's anything wrong with it.
I'm a local business owner that I'm just supporting my daughter's team.
And so far, he's raised about $450, but doesn't sound like the volleyball team will get any of that money. How many licks does it actually take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? A classic commercial is back.
In 1969, the ad debuted with that professorial owl sitting there on the branch, and the little kid asks him, "Hey, Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop?"
Let's find out. 1, 2, 3. 3.
How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know.
And so ahead of trick-or-treating season, Tootsie rolled out a new version of the ad to connect with a new generation, a 5 decades later. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
And we'll end with this story. Rabbi Eric Wolf, he's with the Chabad Synagogue of Bedford up in Westchester County, and he says that they have used a local town park, Leonard Park, for years as a place to do tashlich. Okay, I'm going to explain what tashlich is. Too bad my mom's not alive that I actually remember what it is. It is a ritual during the high holidays, like Rosh Hashanah, which is coming up, where you take pieces of bread and you throw them into a local body of water to symbolically cast off your sins from the past year. So he says every year they use Leonard Park for this ceremony. He says this year the town has told them they can't use the park, and he says he doesn't understand why.
We were informed by the Recreation Department that we are going to be denied, and that the park's deed doesn't allow for any religious activities and gatherings.
Now, these are religious Jews, which means they need to walk to some body of water. They can't get into a car, and this body of water is really close to the synagogue. So he's appealing to the town again, saying, hey, what's the big deal? We just want to throw some bread in the water.
While our particular religious use has been excluded, there are other religious uses that are included and that are allowed in the park.
Now, we've reached out to the village manager to find out why they've changed the rules, and we we have not heard back.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
For a limited time at McDonald's, get a Big Mac Extra Value Meal for $8. That means 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, and medium fries, and a drink. We may need to change that jingle.
Prices and participation may vary.